Hi there, it's BerniiMiller here, and this is a video 2 sharing of my traveller's notebook. If you haven't seen my first video where I shared this little album for scrapping clearly, I shall leave a link down below. These 2 albums are using the pocket page notebooks from the Stamp Spot, which is exclusively designed for the Stamp Spot. So I'll leave a link down below for those. But yeah, this is video number 2. So let me show you what I have created. So this is a kit that was sent to me by the lovely Michelle, and this was for her traveller's notebook kit, you could call it. So it is based on the Cocoa Vanilla Designs pattern papers and a few embellishments. For the life of me right now, off the top of my head, I cannot remember the name of the collection. I can see it, it's on the tip of my tongue. It might come to me as I'm going through anyway. So let me show you what I've done. So for this notebook, by that I had bought a fuse tool. So instead of just keeping all the pocket page notebooks one size, I have gone through and cut down. So I will show you what I created. So this was a trip that I took out at Easter time at the start of this year to go visit my children who were staying way out west. So I took a big drive out there, leaving at, well, this one I happened to snap at 3:42, but I think I was already on the road by 3:30 in the morning, just to get out there on time to see them. So for these ones and throughout the album, on all the white paper, I have done watercolour in the background just to keep that theme consistent throughout, just so that the whole mini album would be consistent like that, even though I'm using different pattern papers. But being all from the one collection really helps. So I just fussy cut out some butterflies there and added them on my page. Pretty simple stuff. This is a picture of the podcast. I took a screenshot of the podcast that I was listening to as I was driving. If anyone knows me, I have forever got my headphones in and I'm listening to podcasts. So these were the ones that I had downloaded to listen on my drive. Especially this one, the Case File True Crime, which is an Australian podcast. I love true crime. So that one was really good. Took pictures of what I had for my breakfast. I even kept the cup that I got from 7-Eleven, my $1 coffee, and I have tried to keep it in here. I just don't know, and I have tried and tried to glue it as a tip-in. I've used some washi tape, and I've done it on this side 1,000 times, it feels like. And I've glued it, but now it's fallen on itself. But anyways, it's in there. Pictures of me driving out there, and then when I actually got my little cherubs, that was our first little selfie together, and then just some journaling about that. So the watercolour in the background again. More watercolour. This is the motel or the hotel that we stayed at, so I took some pictures of that. And then here is another pocket page. This was my very first attempt at using a fuse tool. I've heard lots of people say practice on a different sheet first. I should have heeded their warning, but I just was too excited and wanted to jump in because I have kind of jimmied it up down the bottom here. But that's okay. The picture's not going anywhere, and throughout the book I get better at figuring out how to use it. So I've got that little picture there. A picture of the kids and I in the motel room with more journaling of what we got up to. And then this was our afternoon walk. So that first day we got there, we went for a walk around the town, and again I trimmed down this plastic notebook. Sorry, the plastic insert, I'm sorry. And then I added in an extra tip in. I grabbed a postcard and thought that I would use that as an extra space for journaling and to pop in a photo as well, and just a little bit of interest. Again, the plastic pocket page. This time though, I've trimmed it down because I didn't want to just, again, you know, repeating this, having that. I've already done it twice there, so I thought instead I'll trim it down. This was hilarious. This was the funniest thing that's happened in such a long time. The kids and I were walking down near the river, and there is a heap of cockatoos down there. And out of all the cockatoos and out of all the little kids walking there, Hunter had a bird poo on him, and he was absolutely mortified, and all I could do was laugh. So this was his face. This is me. I was cracking up, and the poor fella, he was just absolutely mortified. But I did tell him, I told him that it's actually really good luck to have bird poo on you. I'm not sure I convinced him because he was still a bit miffed about it all at the end. But it's okay. That was a good memory. I'm so glad I got that on camera. And then just the kids and I, Abby was collecting me some feathers from the cockatoos. So the ones that she has in the photo here, I saved them and glued them in. And I glued them in using my Halma 450 quick dry, because that stuff just is like cement. You glue something down, that bad boy isn't going anywhere. So glued that down there. More photos. This one again, I trimmed down just a tiny bit. So I glued it down there. This is of my son catching up with one of his little mates back here in Toowoomba. They FaceTimed each other, so I took a screenshot of that. This is I took out some of my little traveller's notebooks and gave some for my children, because you know what they're like. They see you using it, of course they want to use it as well. So this one was a sweet little message that my boy wrote to me. He said, "Mum is the best and she is beautiful." So I took a little photo of that and scrapbooked that little memory as well. Another little page here. See, I'm getting much neater. I'm quite, pleased with myself. Much neater. Again, in the background, just some watercolours, and then using all those cocoa vanilla embellishments throughout. Again here, so this is the middle of the book now, and it gets quite thick, so it's good with these embellishments that were added in the kit. They're quite, they're flat, so you don't end up with a really bulky album at the end of it. Now, I will say that I have learnt that patience is key, especially in these albums. If you're using mixed media in the background, don't drag out your heat tool, because then it actually cooks the plastic next to it, which I have now discovered. Yeah, but that's okay. It's not too noticeable, but keep that heat gun away from the plastic bits, because heat and plastic don't tend to go together too well. Photo of my son. The tooth fairy came to visit while I was out there. He lost a tooth eating an apple. Again, using just some of the 12 by 12 paper that was cut down and provided in the kit. More here again, watercolors, just the same theme. The Easter Bunny came to visit us. Again, I cut this page down for shorter. And then Abby showing off some of her birthday present, because I took her birthday present out for her. She's obsessed with Lego at the moment, and especially Shopkins, so she was quite happy with this one. Again, another tip in with a postcard that I grabbed while I was out there. I left this pocket page the full Traveller's Notebook size. Again, watercolor, and as you can tell, the embellishments are starting to get a bit less and less, because I've always been a scrapper that uses lots of embellishments. I was starting to run out, so I was trying to spread it out. But I did end up using the whole kit, like literally the whole kit that was sent to me has fit into this whole album, which is fantastic. Which is, yeah, it makes me happy, because then there's nothing worse than getting 3/4 of a way through a project and you run out and think, oh my lord, what am I going to do now? So yeah, again, some more watercolor, like I said, keeping that consistent throughout. And then this was a photo of me and my trip. I took a screenshot of that in Google Maps, and then this photo here is when my kids were going back with their father, and that's why I wrote hard, because it was really incredibly hard for me to drive away from them at that time. I didn't get to spend too much time seeing my kids on this trip, but luckily now they're home with me full time, so that's a good thing. But it's amazing how much you miss your children, and when you see them just for that little bit of time and you know you have to give them back, it's really hard as a parent. So I'm glad though that they got to spend some good time with their father, so that was the bonus of it. And these is pretty much the last of it. You can see I really have no embellishments on this one at all because it's literally using the last of it. And these were some of the beautiful sunsets that I got on my drive home away. Back home to Toowoomba. And then I grabbed a town map and slid that in there. Oh, Bernie, what have you done? Oh, yeah, okay. And that's it. And then in one of the brochures was the actual, where we stayed. So I trimmed that up and cut that in. And pasted that in. And that's it. That is my album. So that's my little traveler's notebook pattern page or pocket page notebook that I got from the Stamp Spot, and the kit was also from the Stamp Spot. So I will leave a link down below to Michelle's shop where you can buy these, and if there are any little of these traveler's notebook kits left. I cannot highly recommend these notebooks enough. They're brilliant. Like, the paper in them is perfect. Like, it withheld all this mixed media. Like, my pages were soaked with watercolor. I didn't have to gesso the pages or nothing. I was just straight on and off I went. So it's really great. Some of the pages have warped a little bit, but you know what? I like that. I like how it adds a bit of that texture and a bit of dimension to that. So I'm super happy with how this little album turned out, and I'm so glad that I got to do some memory keeping of my visit out to my little cherubs. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to come back with another video with my next little album share here, using some older Heidi Swap goodies, so hopefully you can join me for that video as well. Okay, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.